History matters. And knowing history and knowing it well helps us understand some of the workings of the present and the dysfunctional workings of the present. That engagement with history in general in the United States is not something that we do well when it comes to the sad, deplorable, unhappy, negative episodes in our American history. We don't do that well. The challenge is then, how do you make an engagement with negative history something that has positive or fruitful results?
It really excited me to be part of this group. I thought that there were lots to learn. Being an old university like Georgetown, founded in 1789, we know that slavery wasn't abolished in America until 1865. So looking at that history was something that I thought I could bring a good voice to.
It was important to me to be involved in this group because of the enormity of the work. Enormity meaning the actual amount of work, and the enormity meaning the resonance, not only for the Georgetown community, but also for what it means for America.
As a professor in the Department of Government and as a Jesuit here, I had a real interest in this topic. It's part of our Jesuit history.
I'm a historian, and historians seek the truth. They seek the truth, many times unpleasant.
I really thought it was an amazing opportunity to connect this sometimes distant history to our own lives, to our own university, our own community, the place where we live and work. And, I couldn't pass up that opportunity.
Georgetown would not be here if it wasn't for the enslaved people who built up the school, were part of the cell and made it what it is today. Even though it may be an uncomfortable history, it's important that we engage with it, because even if we don't want to admit it, we're all impacted by it somehow.
I think often our history is something that we like to draw forth only the parts that are easiest to remember. And those can inspire us sometimes, but only rarely do they really challenge us.
By engaging students and alumni and faculty and challenging them, coaxing them, prodding them to look at, say, a problem like this and to say, you know what, this isn't that history over there, this is our history. For the same reasons that we can be proud and we let the positive episodes in our history inform our identity as Hoyas, well, how about looking at the unhappy chapters?
We were kind of the demolition crew, Let's tear down these walls of silence. Let's demolish them. Let's put all the pieces on the ground and look at them. Let's invite the community to walk around in them, and then we'll decide what we need to do to rebuild.
As a member of the working group, oftentimes our conversations were very difficult. And I was always inspired by the manner in which everyone seemed to engage these issues with a vulnerability, with an emotion, and with a devotion to the ideals espoused by Georgetown.
I think one of the greatest qualities of the group that we assembled was that I feel confident in saying that I'm not sure there was really any point where anyone in that room was afraid to speak their mind.
And people really listened to each other. Listening means that you pay attention to what people say. You don't try to come up with an answer to a question that you anticipate. You listen, and people did that.
The fact that Georgetown University and other universities like it were engaged in slavery is not new information. But what we have the opportunity to do is use that information to drive our mission in different directions. And so this iteration of knowing about the past has been particularly poignant because we've seen it as an opportunity to build bridges on campus as well as to connect with descendants.
On one hand, you'd think that there's some sense of relief or accomplishment. You've put in all this work and it's now done. But this work isn't done. It's far from done.
Too often, these things are talked about, and then people want to get credit for talking about it. I think what's great about this is that people are actually doing something about it.
I'm incredibly proud as an academic institution, we are modeling to others the importance of doing research in order to understand the problems that plague us. And I think doing this research at Georgetown University as a Catholic institution is also important.
We have a moral obligation to respond to this. We can't sit here and infuse our students with this knowledge of, magis or cura personalis or social justice without truly doing that.
The Jesuits beautifully and powerfully espouse a codified system of morality, whether it be faith and justice, a commitment to faith and justice, the ideal of being women and men for others, the principle of interreligious understanding. If we're going to grapple with our history regarding slavery as a Jesuit school, then we must do so from a Jesuit moral perspective.
My hope for the legacy of the work we've done is that this continues to be a lived history.
I would hope that the legacy of our work is to provide a model for a thoughtful engagement with a very difficult history.
As a Jesuit and Catholic university, we are committed to a faith that does justice and educating for justice. And part of doing the work of justice is to name the truth. When you walk into Lauinger Library, just above the main doors there are a verse in Latin from John's Gospel. Know you the truth, and the truth will set you free. And truth is liberating.
I hope that the work of the working group teaches people that nothing bad happens when we're honest about the past. I think that we're in a critical moment in our country about race relations and about navigating the long-term consequences of inequality. And this process tells people that it's worthwhile, that we can make new friends and allies, and that when we use history as a tool for present-day thinking, we're better for it.
I hope that when people look back on this working group, that the group is seen as being both thoughtful and bold.
Just know that it was a labor of sorrow and a labor of love. It was something that was absolutely necessary. We did it out of our obligation to the university. We did it because we do have faith in the president of our university and his leadership, but we have also faith in the dignity of human beings, and men and women.
Learning more about slavery at Georgetown, slavery at institutions of higher education around the country, really pushed me to commit towards racial justice work.
Speaking and fighting for this work is so important. It's going to always be important, no matter what institution and place you're in.
Although we can look back and say we need to reconcile slavery, we need to reconcile the past injustices, it also made me more focused on the current injustices that, Black people face, the current injustices that America imposes on certain communities. So that's what really impacted me, changed my experience.
This is part of our history, and it invites the best of us. It invites an openness, and ultimately to growing in a way that our nation has promised that it will, but still hasn't achieved. And if we as a community can start to confront that and can slowly, step by step, move forward together, that would be a profound legacy of what we started here.